Hello, my name is Alicia Jackson Hall. I am a special education middle and high school teacher at an alternative school in Southeast Georgia. And I am also a student in the Educational Leadership Tier 1 certification program at Georgia Southern University. Today, I want to welcome you to my formative assessment data review presentation, where I will explore the role of formative data in school improvement. Formative assessment data supports continuous improvement by helping schools identify needs and respond before problems become entrenched. Bernhardt explains that formative assessments range from formal to informal assessments and are used to adjust teaching methods to improve student learning. Some of the most common formative assessments that Bernhardt mentions are classroom assessments and homework. One thing I do want to point out is that Bernhardt also cautions teachers to understand that the intent of formative assessments is to also provide the information needed to adjust teaching and learning while the instruction is occurring. The reason is to give both the teachers, and students an understanding of what the student needs when adjustments can be made. This analysis that I'm going to present examines various indicators across a single cohort to inform leadership and intervention strategies. The identified cohort in this presentation consists of 20 students across grades 9 through 12. Grade 12 makes up the largest portion of the group, which is an important factor when interpreting patterns and the intensity of risk indicators. Now, there are several data sources that were utilized for this data assessment, including attendance, grade point average, behavior trends, assessment performance, and grade status. And for this data assessment, triangulation was also used. When implementing triangulation, data assessors use 2 to 3 variables to help locate a target. Triangulating gives a clearer picture and better understanding of the student needs. So let's look at how each indicator was measured and the results. Let's first look at attendance. Attendance here is a key leading indicator. The data shows uneven attendance across this cohort. This highlights attendance as a strong predictor of academic success that requires proactive intervention. So leaders can use this information to implement any type of incentives to encourage students to come to school. Okay, so now let's take a look at academic performance. This data shows that, of course, with our ninth graders, we start at a lower GPA, which isn't surprising. Most of the time, that is a trend with our ninth graders, that academics is an area where they struggle. And then as they progress, 10th grade, 11th, and then 12th, our GPA tends to increase and gets a little bit stronger. So our data here shows us that the earlier grades, ninth graders, may require stronger instructional interventions, progress monitoring. They will just need a lot more support when they are in the ninth grade. So let's look at the academic status. Academic status also varies significantly by grade. Because needs range from strategic to intensive, schools must also match their instructional responses to the severity and consistency of the challenges that students face. Now, when we look at this graph and the information presented, I want to say that what I see is the multiple deficient areas and the multiple failures right here with our 10th graders. It could mean a lot of things. Okay, it could mean that, they're coming out of ninth grade and they're having to get adjusted to new curriculum. They're still with some of those behavioral patterns that ninth graders have. They're coming into the 10th grade. So there's 9 times out of 10, they will improve in this area. But in one of my presentations, I talked about, the 5%ers, the 10%ers, the 20%ers. Those population of students can ultimately be game changers when we want to impact our overall scores. So if leaders, teachers can tackle the reasons why there are multiple deficiencies here or multiple failures, you can definitely have an impact in the overall scores of your entire student population. So if I were a leader, I would definitely dig into the issues and the needs of these students. Again, though they are small numbers, they make a huge impact. Kudos to these 11th graders and especially the 12th graders, which again is not surprising because typically that is a trend. The higher the students go in their grades, the more focused they are and the higher the pass rate is. So that's not a surprise. Okay, so now let's look at behavior trends. The data here reveals that some students face repeated disciplinary patterns, which often coincides with lower academic performance, as well as attendance and GPA. These issues must be treated as issues of instructional access rather than just disciplinary issues alone. Okay, so what I'm saying is the behavior um, doesn't need to be just a disciplinary event, but it needs to be looked at as instructional, academic. Why are these students accumulating this large number of referrals, and how is it connected to their academic performance? How is it impacting them academically? So this data could definitely be used to enhance instructional and student support, as well as increase their overall GPAs. So now let's look at assessment performance results. These results in this data dig are mixed across the cohort, with students distributing performances at below proficiency, approaching proficient, and some that are even stronger. And this report shows us that there are inconsistencies between classroom performance and the standardized tests that are given. Now, what this suggests is that teachers and leaders should definitely examine instructional alignment, assessment design, and any opportunities available to present reteaching to students that are definitely below proficiency, well below, etc. Assessment evidence is most useful when it is combined with classroom performance and not just isolated when teachers and leaders are looking at data information. The overall student risk in this data analysis is not evenly distributed. Here we see that students in grades 9 and 10 show the highest risk profiles, which is typically a trend in high school. The suggestion here is to implement an early warning system that will flag students through combined areas of deficiencies, which means is that this population of students shows that they are at risk in multiple areas, such as attendance, lower GPAs, or having lower GPAs, academic struggles, as well as behavioral infractions. The graduation and credit data highlight the importance of monitoring progress early. Identifying credit deficiency helps prevent students from falling significantly off track as they progress toward graduation. So, for our leaders, the recommendation is that you connect credit review with attendance, course performance, and intervention planning to ensure that your seniors remain on track and are ready to graduate. Now, when we look at the cross indicator findings, we are looking at how attendance, behavior, assessment, and credit status interact to impact student success. We look at attendance and try to determine whether or not poor attendance is influencing academic performance. Behavior, we look at whether or not increased behavior is impacting instruction. We look at the assessment patterns. Are class performances and standardized performances fully aligned? Then when we look at credit deficiency, we want to know whether or not it reflects cumulative risk, whether or not it's making multi-indicator review more predictive than just a single measurement alone. So in terms of instructional implications, schools should differentiate support across a multi-tiered system. The universal support for all, which means frequent formative assessments, should be used to identify misconceptions early and have an opportunity to adjust instruction before failures begin to build up and cause students to be moved to the next tier. Targeted interventions for some. This is at tier 2 and tier 3. These interventions are not they're not intended for everyone, but these interventions can indicate that there are emerging concerns and provide support for students who have multiple risk factors. And then individualized intensive support for students with with multiple risks. And these students normally need the support of MTSS structures, which include small groups and other types of interventions. So, as we get to the end of the data analysis, what are my recommendations for leaders? First, I recommend that the leaders strengthen the early warning system processes so that combined indicators can trigger a more timely review and give teachers an opportunity to implement some type of action plan. Use the PLC and collaborative data meetings more to just examine cross-indicator patterns, see what can be addressed early in the game to go back and revisit instructions, see what needs to be changed or added. Implement a short cycle data review that will allow teachers and leaders to monitor interventions and the effectiveness of those interventions and make adjustments quickly. And then support standard alignment, instructional coaching, and shared accountability for student progress. And in conclusion, proactive data-informed intervention within an MTSS framework is vital. By responding to risk early, schools can better foster success as well as have continuous improvement. Thank you for listening to my formative data analysis. I hope that you were able to pull something from this report and be able to implement it into your school system. Thank you.